has considerable responsibility for these things, should figure out an administrative plan for handling these people who are making these claims, because they are the people who are doing that do not seem to realize that if it goes on, it disturbs the peace. And we've been so successful so far in the treaty under the 67 treaty, for example. The military role is spelled out explicitly, and I think that this other role should be spelled out in the same way, so that we have an administrative mechanism for dealing with these claims which cannot be recognized. Now, what we have in the treaty about the military role is that all of the nations that agreed to use the moon and other celestial bodies for peaceful purposes, they forbid the establishment of military bases and installations and fortifications, and they're not in favor of any type of weapon or conduct of military maneuvers on the moon. But the military personnel can be used for scientific research or other peaceful purposes, and any equipment for peaceful exploration can be used. So when you have something as explicit as that, which has been observed since the treaty was signed, it was ratified, you should be able to figure out this other problem. In Article 4, the nations agreed not to orbit the nuclear weapons, and I'm afraid that this will become difficult if people think that they have the right to go together and do something in outer space that is not for a peaceful purpose. If we had, for example, one state that got on the moon and had a military base, it could threaten the whole Earth. And we haven't had that so far.
Jim, I want to thank you for asking a question. Do you have anything else to say to Eileen? We have another caller on the line. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I just think she's a wonderful, lovely lady, and God bless her, and may she see her 120th birthday pretty soon.
All right. Okay, we have Roberta on the line from North Carolina, and John Galloway is holding. Roberta from North Carolina?
Yes, I'm here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much. It's an excellent show. My question for Eileen is, to her knowledge, is there any connection with the SETI program, which is the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, and the possibility of life on other planets to cooperate with the 1967 treaty or any other treaties that are currently in the works or have been in the work? I think it's a very important question.
Eileen, you want to answer that?
Yes. This is about extraterrestrial intelligence. Well, there is an organization called SETI that is working on this. It's the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, and they are doing considerable research, which I hope will pay off, because it is an important, very important subject.
Roberta, did you get your answer, or do you want to restate it?
No, I really didn't get the answer. What I wanted to know was, is there any connection with the treaties that have been established in 1967 or subsequent to that time with SETI? In other words, is there any interaction with SETI? I know what SETI does. I'm familiar with it, but is there any interaction? I think it's important, because what happens when extraterrestrial life is contacted and they say, you know, how can you sell portions of our planet?
That's an interesting point. Did you get that, Eileen?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, all that I know about SETI and the people here in Washington who are working on it is that they're working on it, but they haven't solved it yet. So I think that this is not being ignored at all, but that the research and the interest in it are continuing.
Okay. Roberta, is there anything else you'd like?
Thank you. I'm very grateful. She's done a tremendous amount of work, and I'm very grateful to her. So thank you, Mrs. Galloway.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Roberta. Do we have John Galloway who's on the line?
Yes.
Good morning. Thank you for being here.
I'm glad to be here.
John?
I'm glad to listen to my mother. I'm in Vermont, listening to a radio program in Colorado on streaming audio.
It's a wild world, and pretty soon we'll be on satellite. So then what? We're going to be really close to all of you.
Right.
We'll be in sync. John, is there anything you'd like to add to the conversation on space law and the Earth and what's happening here?
Well, Mother, you mentioned several industries that have come into existence because of the onset of the space age, the communications satellite industry, the remote sensing industry, navigation, and GPS. What do you think about new industries that people are talking about, like solar power satellites and tourism?
Well, I think there's a great deal of interest in tourism. Evidently, there are some individuals who are willing to spend millions of dollars just to go up and come down without going around very much. So I think that will continue. The whole interest in exploration will continue.
What do you think about the communications industry? Like new satellites going up. How do you feel about more satellites going up? Because don't satellites have a certain life? Don't they have a certain lifespan like people? But, satellites may only last 30 years or 50 years.
Well, I think that there's a great need for ground stations, and that all the things that are needed mean that there must be regulation by the government. I think the government cannot expect private industry to invest a lot of money unless they make a profit. On the other hand, I don't think that private industry can expect not to be regulated. Here is an environment that's entirely different from the earth, the sea, and the air, and it is governed by physical laws, lethal radiation, solar winds, the selection of orbits, the time that you have for launching a satellite, if you want to change the orbit, and you have to provide artificial gravity and protect both the vehicles and the astronauts. This means that the government and the private sector have to adjust their relationship, and it could be different for different subjects. You cannot expect that exploration and the use of exploration for profit will develop in tandem. Sometimes you get just a lot of information, as you do from the Hubble telescope, which is very important, but it doesn't make a profit. And other times you can do things that make a profit. And the relationship between the government and the private sector is changing all the time.
Do you think it's getting better, Eileen?
No, I think it's confused because there's so many subjects. There are so many subjects that can benefit on Earth from information you get from outer space.
Let's say I wanted to buy a satellite. Can a person own a satellite?
Yeah, yes.
Really? Are there satellite brokers?
You have industries that own satellites, and they have to have permission to use the launch pad. They have to protect the vehicle. The vehicle is built with a certain design to perform its particular function, and it has to be, the information has to be gathered, and it has to be gathered from many places all through the world. It's very important for industry to understand that it has to have some restrictions from the government because, after all, the government is responsible for national defense. They can't have something going up that is going to do a lot of damage.
So it has to be regulated or it has to be overseen.